Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Oh, Tony, it's not like always. It's different. It's special. It's a commitment. Instant reaction show, Tony. The very best kind of show, maybe the most exciting kind of show for Ohio State fans. And good news, we have one of them for you right now.
It's America's favorite episode, a commitment episode. In this, the year of our tight end, it is very, very fitting then that Glenville tight end, four-star tight end, Damarion Witten has committed to Ohio State. Not a foregone conclusion, but also maybe not a huge surprise. He had been leaning to Ohio State for a while. Kentucky was trying to get involved there, and maybe some people on the Kentucky side felt pretty good about him. But this being Glenville, Tom, come on.
Yeah, earlier in the day on Friday, when Damarion Witten was just getting set to start his visit to Ohio State, his official visit to Ohio State, Kentucky accepted a commitment from a different tight end prospect. And I put something on the board and said, you know, you could read this in a certain way that Kentucky taking a different tight end prospect, and a good tight end prospect, but taking a different tight end prospect might mean the end of the Damarion Witten to Kentucky rumors. Certainly the case. And, you know, I think, Tony, this is a Glenville prospect. This is a prospect who Ohio State was very much interested in. And we were talking before the show. I think I need to see a Glenville prospect that Ohio State is seriously pursuing go somewhere else before I really spend any time thinking about, well, is this the time it's going to happen? Because it feels like it has been a long, long time since that has happened.
Yeah, and you wonder how much effort and resources other schools will, want to even bother putting into it. And what did we come up with for is the last time Ohio State didn't get a Glenville guy that they really, really wanted?
Well, we had, we kind of threw a couple different names around. I think really, truly, in terms of guy that Ohio State was pursuing, had been seriously pursuing for a long time, Andre Walker, class of 2011, offensive lineman who went to USC. And even then, that was that was February of 2011. So you had some of the Tatgate stuff sort of floating around at that point. And, so there was sort of a little bit of some lingering question marks around the Ohio State program. Oh, how funny do those question marks look now with the current state of college football. Remember when that was a big scandal? Yeah. Life comes at you fast, as they say. But, there was all this sort of lingering stuff going on, and what's this going to mean for Terrell Pryor, and what's this going to mean for Boom Herron and DeVere Posey, and most importantly, Jim Tressel. And with all that stuff lingering, Andre Walker chose to play for USC. That's really the last time there was someone who Ohio State had really been pursuing seriously, had an offer out to seriously that we could come up with for a long time. Maybe there was an offer, but it was very late, or it was an offer rather than an offer. So it has been more than a decade, since there's been a really true someone who Ohio State was really seriously pursuing from Glenville who didn't end up going to Ohio State, and that streak will continue at least for now with the commitment of Damarion Witten. And Tony, this is every year, of course, is the year of the tight end. This year, though, 2024, class of 2024, this is now the second tight end Ohio State has taken in this class. Is 2024 now, Tony, the true year of the tight end?
Well, it's kind of like it just keeps piling on top of each other. It's a snowballing year of the tight end. And yeah, I think if Keenan Bailey would have his way, Ohio State's tight ends coach, it would just, 2 this year, 3 next year, 4 the year after that. Then eventually you just have a team full of tight ends. Hopefully some of them can play left tackle. But yeah, so you've got Damarion Witten, who is ranked the 24/7's own rankings. He's ranked the number 14 tight end in the nation, number 197 player overall. He joins Max LeBlanc, a Canadian by way of Tennessee, or is it Tennessean by way of Canada? And I think it's a Canadian by way of Tennessee, because that's where he's playing right now. And Tennessee, another 4-star tight end playing at the Baylor School in Chattanooga. So again, a 2 tight end class for Ohio State, a bit But neither of these guys are gigantic. Damarion Witten is listed at 6'4", 215. Seen him in person a couple of times. My first time seeing him was last year in Central Ohio, and he looked like just a big receiver, and he played a lot of receiver, also played a little bit of tight end as well outside, and then would come in on the line and also he was used plenty downfield and made some big plays in that game. And then seeing him again this past weekend, or a couple weeks, seeing him at some point in June at Ohio State's camp, they all run together, but he was there, and again, he's going to have to put on some weight, and it's, I guess, a developmental type of thing, but also this is a guy that they've been going after, they've wanted for a while now. This isn't somebody that, we've struck out on everybody else, and this is a December signing day type of thing. Just come on, we'll see if we can do something with you. They definitely believe they can. And LeBlanc as well, listed at like 6'4", 222, another guy that is going to have to add some weight. Kind of different than, Jelani Thurman was listed at like 220 in the 24/7 profile, and then he gets to Ohio State and he's already at like 252. So there's plenty of time for these guys to add weight. But a pretty good haul for Ohio State, and you get two in 1 year, and then it kind of gives you some breathing room in 2025 if things don't work out, or however that goes. But two in this class, and I think Keenan Bailey has to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I think this is a nice little security blanket for him, where you've got some depth if you have some people ahead transfer, because there are a lot of bodies in that room right now. But Kate, by the time Max LeBlanc and Damarion Witten get there, Cade Stover's not going to be there anymore, and you've got other upperclassmen like Sam Hart and G. Scott, and even Bennett Christian. By the time these guys get to campus, Bennett Christian's in his third year, and you've got Jelani Thurman. I think Jelani Thurman is someone who we both think has a very, very bright future at Ohio State, but now you've got a little bit of depth behind him as he starts moving into the later portions of his career. As I'm talking about the later portions of his career, as he hasn't yet played a game for Ohio State. So it's this is the nature of the future of recruiting, and 2025 they're in on tight ends already. Landon Pace, for example, son of Orlando Pace, is a 2025 tight end recruit. So they were already kind of looking down the pipeline a little bit there. But these are guys who Ohio State asks a lot of different things from their tight ends. They have their blocking tight ends, they have their fullback tight ends like Mitch Rossi, they have their flexed out tight ends, the more receiver type tight ends. Luke Farrell and Jeremy Ruckert played the same position, but they didn't necessarily play the same position, and they didn't necessarily play the same position as Mitch Rossi, even though they were listed as kind of the same position on the roster. So, I think there's a little bit of a question as to where does Max LeBlanc, is he also a flexed out guy, or is he an inline guy where they just got to put more weight on him? Damarion Witten, I think you would certainly project as a sort of flexed out, more receiver type tight end, but you put 30 pounds on him and that could all change. So this is not a spot where you're asking these guys to step in day one and make an immediate impact. You've got a little bit of time to spend a year in the weight room with Coach Mick and put on some weight and put on some muscle and do all the gross and unexciting stuff that they ask Ohio State tight ends to do. We will undoubtedly spend a lot of time talking about how, when are these guys going to play? Well, when they're comfortable with how they block. So it's not the most exciting answer on a lot of these questions, but that is the answer, and that is the life of an Ohio State tight end.
Yeah, and the last two tight ends they've signed, Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman, both big guys, like 6'5", 6'6", 250. So they're already at that size. But when you look at who they're recruiting and have committed this year, like a 215, 222, 225-pound guy, next year, Luka Gilbert, we saw him at camp, and he's 6'7", but he's still pretty thin for that frame, but he'll probably show up. If Ohio State lands him, he'd show up on campus probably like 245 or something. So, and he looks like a tight end. But, Amari Winston is another guy that they're after in that 2025 class. He's like 6'1.5", 6'2". I watched another guy that I believe they've offered, Eli Owens, who is another 6'2", like 225-pound tight end out of Tennessee. And then you mentioned Landon Pace, who's like 6'2", 200 some odd pounds. Like, these are not your standard tight end sizes, which tells you that they're looking to do different things with them. And I don't know that, is any one of these guys eventually, like, could they become the Mitch Rossi? And it's still fascinates me that we talk about the Mitch Rossi position like we used to talk about the Percy Harvin position. Like, there's a name to it. But I think they've found some success with that and some different things that you can do, and maybe some more mobile after the catch types of things. But we'll have time for all of those instant reaction shows next year or in 2 weeks, whenever the 2025 guys stop popping. Tom, anything else before we go?
No, I think it's going to be very interesting the next time we talk to Keenan Bailey. What's the thinking there? Is this an intentional thing? And is this, you would think in a lot of ways, with as well as the recruiting at wide receiver, you don't need to recruit the, smaller, maybe get downfield kind of tight ends. You'd think maybe with as important as they talk about the tight end being in the run game for them, you'd think, okay, you're going to be recruiting more offensive lineman type tight ends, not necessarily, like they've used Josh Fryer and Donovan Jackson in the Buffalo package as sort of like an extra tight end, but something where it's more like a blocking type tight end. But apparently that's not what they're thinking. So it'll be interesting to the next time we get to talk to Keenan Bailey, what his thoughts are there on what is very obviously, this is not a coincidence that they're recruiting, maybe a little bit smaller guys by and large. This is, once is maybe like, this is a very unique player. When you're looking at the number of guys they have offers out that fit this kind of profile, it probably stops being a coincidence at some point. Yeah,
absolutely. Again, a solid pickup for the Buckeyes. And interestingly, like, I'm just thinking as you were talking, like Julian Fleming, for instance, is like bigger than the guys they're recruiting at tight end right now, basically. So perhaps Julian Fleming to tight end. Must credit Tom Orr with that one.
No, please don't. Thank you, though.
So that will do it for us today. I want to thank you all for joining us. As always, find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Become a member. There is a ton of stuff going on, ton of intel right now in the recruiting class, because there are all kinds of things happening right now, as you might have noticed. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.